Hi, good afternoon. Clearly, collaboration and partnerships is essential as part of delivering the SDGs. The UN is one of the key players to this. The challenge is the degree to which partnerships are really delivering. We spend a lot of time and effort with these partnerships, but are they effective? And this is one of the things that we with World Vision and with you in DESA have been looking at is, can we create a framework to be able to both plan partnerships and see if partnerships are effective at delivering more? We have limited resources in the world. We need to bring them together in order to really maximize the value. But how do we do that? And that's kind of the holy grail of partnering, and it's something that we have been looking at and have developed this guidebook that we are now introducing here. So I'm going to just give a few slides about this framework for value creation. There are different types of partnership. We use the word to mean pretty much any type of relationship, but when we're looking at how partnerships create value, then we need to unpick this a little bit. And so here we have a framework that's quite helpful. We find where partnerships at level 1, this is this idea of exchange partnerships, that you might, for example, have a business might be donating staff time or funding to an NGO or UN agency, and in return, that business might get some reputational benefits or some employee engagement benefits, for example. It's this sort of clear sort of exchange between them. Then this next level is around really combining and integrating the resources we have. How do we combine the resources, again, for example, of business with NGOs to deliver something more than sum of the parts? So how do we take, for example, Barclays Bank and their experiences of banking, and Care and Plan International and their experience and knowledge of working with communities, and combine those two together in order to create micro banking for the poor in rural areas in East Africa? And so that's where this value creation, you can begin to see this value creation happening through this combination of resources. And then finally, we talk about the third level, which is much more about transformation of societies by having all sectors, all players within a particular area, particular value chain, or a particular system, who together can align the way they work and operate and collaborate to really transform a system and how it works and operates. So when we look at these different types of partnership, we can also sort of begin to see where this value is being created. And you can sort of see these different levels where the benefits or the value that is delivered within, it could be affecting the partners themselves, and that's kind of a leverage exchange type partnerships where each partner benefits from it. Then you can have the impact on I have beneficiaries in inverted commas, those that are sort of impacted or benefit more widely from a partnership, and that can be sort of particularly from these combine or integrate type partnerships. And then of course the system shift, where multiple different actors, because you're changing the rules of the game, you're transforming a system in some way. But let's get a little bit more concrete about that, because the way that we look at partnerships is that they have to do two things. Firstly, they have to deliver value to all of the partners involved. And secondly, we hope that the partnership itself is creating significantly more value. We want that partnerships, that 1 + 1 equals 5. We know that partnering is difficult, it takes time and effort, so we need to ensure that genuinely by combining our resources together, we are able to create additional value. So if we just have a quick look, because we find that often partners or individual organizations are really not sufficiently assessing the value creation or the benefits to them. And so together with, in fact, it was originally with both UNICEF and WFP, we've developed this framework where organizations can capture the value they're getting. So that's both in terms of the mission value, are we achieving our strategic objectives through this partnership, but then also the organizational value that they are gaining. And that could be, in some cases, it could be funding, but also there are additional value that can be gained through increasing reputation, the improved political or social capital, technology transfer, capacity building, all of these different areas where partners, organizations can gain significant value in addition to achieving their mission. And of course, this is so important that organizations, when going into a partnership, assess this, because then they can see, well, what are the costs involved in being involved in this partnership, and this value we're getting out of it, is that worth it? The second element, as I said, is about this holy grail about the value out of partnership. And this is where we have sort of defined a couple of terms that we think are going to be helpful as we take this whole area forward. The first one is collaborative advantage. And that is the intrinsic value, the intrinsic power that bringing together resources, particularly from different sectors, can create. And then the output of that is what we're calling the partnership delta. That is the difference that a partnership bringing together players can deliver in comparison to traditional single actor outcomes. So that really is trying to determine what is greater than the sum of the parts in terms of the impact it has. That's the partnership delta. What do these look like? Well, when it comes to sort of collaborative advantage value types, we have come up with a set of 10 reasonably distinct areas in which partnerships create or have the potential to create additional value. And you can see these here. And I'm just going to talk about, just mention 2 or 3 of them just to give you an idea, and then the partnerships that will be presented shortly will then be able to illustrate more of them in a moment. So let's just take number 1. Partnerships, the collaborative advantage is bringing together of complementary resources of all different kinds. And what that does is, in terms of the impact, the extra impact it can have, it can create complete solutions that would just be impossible without each of these key jigsaw puzzle pieces that are required to make that whole solution. But also, we talked earlier about potentially to transform a system, that we all bring sort of key parts of that puzzle. But also we can create more sustainable solutions because we are bringing in economic actors as well as social actors and environmental actors. Another example of collaborative advantage is about being able to share risks by bringing in multiple partners. And that can result in this delta P, this difference that a partnership makes of being able to deliver something at potentially much greater scale, far greater scale than any one organization would be able to do on its own, whether that's shared risks in investment or shared risks of implementation that NGOs might have in delivering a major program. That sharing of risk can result in this significant additional value that's being created. And you can sort of look through these different approaches, and you can see that in multiple different ways. For example, partnerships can create sufficient weight of action. By bringing together different partners, you can create a critical mass that can deliver something that would not be possible otherwise. So it could be around advocacy, and clearly the stronger the voices, the greater the weight behind it, the more likely you're able to deliver your advocacy targets. So all in all, what we're trying to do here is create a much more systematic way to think about how partnerships can create value in order to then really focus and concentrate on that value creation. So in practice, this might look like, in the early days at the beginnings of the partnership development, it could be literally sitting down with your partner with these lists, this list of different ways partnerships can create value in order to really maximize value creation. So really looking at that collaborative advantage and then trying to say, well, what is that delta P that we are hoping for, that we are going to be working towards, and understand what the key building blocks are to get there. And really importantly, understanding measures of success early on. We hear all the time people asking for indicators for partnership impact. And of course, partnerships are no different to other programs and projects. They have certain impacts that they have, which can be measured in traditional means. But what we're looking at here is, how do you both pre-assess and work towards and then measure the actual additional impact that partnerships can create. And you can do that in the tracking stages while the partnership's implementing, and of course at the end as you are evaluating your partnerships.